Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Get ready for truth bombs, belly laughs, and the kind of accent that turns car into a two-syllable adventure. Here's your host, Sean.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'm good. You know, you learn something new every single time. I have changed the programs that I use to broadcast with and moved over to Streamlabs. And while so far it's been awesome, there's a learning curve to it. My camera, for whatever reason, did in fact need a drink. I would need a drink if I had to look straight at me like this all the time, like the camera does. But I got it all squared away. It's not a big deal. It happens. And here we go. So the government shutdown happened at midnight today. That's midnight Eastern time, not Pacific, where I'm stuck at. But either way, the government shut down, and let me tell you something, folks. I am laughing at watching the Democrats trying to unload this as anybody else's fault but their own. And just so we're clear, and I'm going to go through, I get so many. When I was doing this segment, I have a hard time trying to figure out, look, do I want to do it just strictly the comedy part? Because the comedy in all of this has been fucking amazing, right? Or do I want to go through the serious and then end on the funny? It's a tough decision to make. So I've elected on starting a little bit serious. The whole point the Democrats are trying to make is that the average... Ricky Robinson's in the chat. Let me say hi to the chat really quick. Before I get into this, let me say hi to my friends in the chat because they're all giving me a hard time. There was a whole bunch of messages before I even got here. We got Canada Heavy Haul in the chat. We have BZ in the chat. Ricky Robinson's in the chat. I think I saw Jersey Joe in the chat. BZ was number 1 tonight in the chat. So there's that going. Jersey Joe is in the chat. There he is. Let's see. That's me, so that doesn't help you at all. And let's see. Cosmic Bot is in the chat. Thank you so much for being here this evening. And the Phantom's in the chat. And before we go any further, I want to say a pre-happy birthday to the Phantom, who's got a birthday coming up tomorrow. So everybody in chat, and if you're not in chat, you go to SHR Media on YouTube. And you can actually do it through X too on this app program. I can see it in Facebook or wherever else. But if you want to send your message direct, you got to get up onto YouTube, find the Phantom, and say happy birthday to her for tomorrow. Okay, now I feel a lot better about getting into the subjects because it's important. So this is the bullshit that the Democrats were trying to sell you as what they were fighting for. This is what's going to happen right here. Just like Senator Warnock said. I was sent this by George's this morning, 2025 premiums versus 2026 premiums for somebody making $65,000 a year. Republicans in Washington did this. That's why I'm fighting to stop. This is what is at stake in the shutdown fight. Now, I want to show you something that Governor Warnock knows. This isn't an ignorance thing. This is an intentional sleight of hand. Look at this. Anthem Bronze Blue value times 5,000. 0 virtual visits, 0 selected drugs, $307.20. Now, you would think there'd be a side-by-side comparison of that with just the 2026 cost, but no, this is the Anthem Bronze Blue Value HMO, 5,000. Bronze HSA HMO, healthcare savings account HMO, $964 a month. It's a different damn program. It's not even the same thing. So you see the dishonesty already in what they're doing, right? This is what they're claiming is the problem, is that the prices of health insurance is just going to go through the roof and blah 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 blah. When what the Democrats are actually fighting for, and I'll get into what they're fighting for specifically, what's changing that they don't like, is this: the Democratic funding proposal spends enough on healthcare for illegals and non-citizens to fund the entire children's health insurance program for a decade. And by the way, this is, for the record, this is a clean CR. This was going to fund it. I thought it was the end of the month yesterday. It's actually going to fund it to the middle of November. This is stuff a lot of these Democrats have already voted on and approved. This isn't a big change. Yeah. Jersey Joe, I said right away, no, this is a really good point, Senator Warnock. Let's just entirely repeal Obamacare and start over, because much like everybody else in this world, my cost for insurance has gone through the roof since Obamacare, since we started paying for everything else. So that's what they're hoping for, and this is a clean CR. If they just passed this, it would have been the budget that's already in place extended. I said on Monday night, I hate CRs. I think they're the stupidest thing in the world. This should have been done. We're here now. And the Democrats, who the last I checked was polling at best of 20%, this is what they want to shut the government down. 43% of government employees are Democratic voters. They know. All the polls, where's the poll I had? I think it was a Wall Street Journal poll that said half the Democrats in this country said don't shut the government down to Democrats, Democratic voters. And essentially everybody else was like, yeah, shut it down. And they said, who are you going to blame when it gets shut down? And they said Democrats. Democrats would hold the blame for this shutdown. Even Democratic voters said Democrats. Hey, Ordy's in the chat. Thanks, Ordy. Even Democrats said the Democrats were going to shut this down. When you are 20% approval upon your own party, do you really want to start putting your own people out of work? Is that really what you want to do? And the answer is no, but they're so stuck. They're absolutely so stuck on doing everything for illegals that they just can't help themselves. They've backed themselves. They painted themselves into this political corner where now, if they give in, they're going to show that everything that they were fighting for was bullshit, right? They're going to show that they're spineless. They're going to show, and look, how do we know? Because their biggest thing is no monies are going to illegals. No monies are going to illegals. Illegals can't get Medicaid. They can't get this. They can't get that. But then you go on their state websites, and I know I have it here somewhere, and it confirms that, well, actually, they do, in fact, collect. One of them was on Schumer's website. I know I have that here. And then there was another senator who put it on their website. And if you don't think illegals, aren't getting it, I'll find that in a second. But even Ro Khanna just admitted on Fox Business this morning that some of them are getting it.
In terms of health care, the reality is they're just not being honest. The amount of money that actually is going towards people who are undocumented.
Did you hear what he just said yet? They're not being honest. And there's a progression. It just went from illegals are not getting any of this money to, well, they're over exaggerating how much illegals are getting from this money. Listen to that again.
People who are undocumented is such a small portion of the Medicaid cuts or the Affordable Care Act.
Okay, so you have a Democrat who now just admitted that there is money going to illegals. Doesn't matter if it's $1. They said none was. And how do I know that? Because Nancy Pelosi went batshit crazy, and so didn't what's her name there from LA, when asked about this. Why do you want to make this a big deal? Why is this the issue? You're trying to do a gotcha thing. We don't need that sort of blah, 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 politics or photojournalism. What the
D.C.
want
and who did I
is to just be able to repeat the same line over and over again and make a feel-good video like this.
Hey everybody, I was walking here in Washington, D.C., and who did I bump into? One of my favorite members of the United States Congress, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
And one of my favorite senators.
All right.
Can
Anyhow,
you handle this?
as everybody knows, we
Can
are
you
now
handle
in
this?
a
The answer is no.
government shutdown.
You can't handle
Republicans
this.
are
Is just so
attacking Alexandria, attacking.
they're using it for fundraising. That's what this is. I'm going to spare you the obnoxious entire feel-good buddy video between these two. They are literally just going to fundraise off of this. That's all they're going to do. Joe, I got the link. I'm going to post it up here in a second. Where's Schumer? Stand by. Yeah, here's Schumer's link. This is a lie. Not a single federal dollar goes to providing healthcare insurance for undocumented immigrants. Not one penny. This was on the 30th, yesterday, at September 30th. Because the allegation was Senate Democrats are about to block a clean CR. And then you go to his website. And Joe, do you have that one too? I know you're in the chat room there somewhere, Joe. On his website, on the New York State website, it tells you how to apply if you are undocumented in the state of New York. I think it says for elderly care, but I mean, that's all, it's all malleable. It doesn't matter, right? So a couple things. We have confirmation by Ro Khanna himself, a Democrat, and not one who has a tendency to, what's the word I'm looking for? Ro Khanna has a tendency to say the quiet part out loud and get out ahead of things. And I don't know if that's a defense that he runs. I don't know if that's like a weird emotion that he has, but he's done stuff like this a few times where, oh, here it is. Thank you, Joe. Where he said, hey, this isn't happening. And then all of a sudden he comes out and says, well, it is happening. And this was on the New York State of Health website. Starting January 1st, 2024, there's an option for health insurance for undocumented insurance over age 65. Okay. I don't know how much more obvious it needs to get said, and it needs to be made. Now, they're going to tell you, oh, these are state funds that are funding this and not federal funds, which we all know is bullshit, right? I mean, it is the federal, what they do is they just move money around and they take money that the state would have spent in this and move it to something else, and then put the federal money into that something else, and then they flip-flop it and run it, and it's just all dirty bookwork. At the end of the day, it's just dirty bookwork. So we know now that Democrats, contrary to everything that they said, Nancy Pelosi freaking out and just lambasting reporters for asking this question, we know it's confirmed. We're here now. This is the house we live in now. How do we move forward? Well, one of two things that can happen. The Democrats can stop being giant fucking children and making a mountain out of a molehill. Look, if you want to have this fight in Congress over the bill that was passed through appropriations for the first time since 1996, okay, you'll have to the middle of November to pull that off. Just sign the CR. It's not that hard. You're going to make all of this disruption. The country's already blaming Democrats for this. What do you gain other than what, favor of illegals? The illegals can't vote, from what I was told. Well, that's not true. We know that's not true because that superintendent in Iowa was registered to vote as a Democrat in, what was it, Maryland? So, yeah, here's Maxine losing her mind. Thank you, Joe. We'll share this one. Here's Maxine losing her mind. She was asked whether or not this fight was about illegals. Hold on. everybody. So now that's two. That's two different Democrats. Two different Democrats in a website. So then we go into the meetings yesterday, and it did not go well. Now we get to the fun part. The Democrats screwed the pooch on this. No questions asked. Oh, it didn't play? Joe. Come on now. Don't tell me it didn't play. Stand by. Still learning the new software. Give me a break. Is it this one? Really weird. There it is. My apologies, folks. I'm trying. Two Dems at a website. Look, I'm trying. This is all. It's not. What's even worse about switching programs like this, for the people who don't know, it's not a big enough switch where it's completely like foreign to you, but it's just enough difference where little things get you caught up. You're just so used to doing something, and then that something does not work the same way on this anymore. But here she is losing.
But are Democrats demanding health care for illegal aliens?
Democrats are demanding health care for everybody.
But are Democrats demanding health care for illegal aliens?
Democrats are demanding health care for everybody.
So, okay, as I said, we now have numerous confirmation. They've backed away from illegals are not getting anything. Now they're not getting as much as you think they are. And we're right on the cusp of, okay, well, they're getting it, but that's just part of the thing. That's just part of what we do. And it's just ridiculous. And it's a lie. That's all Democrats have been doing right along, is lying. And like I said before, their whole defense entirely is just orange man bad, illegals first. And I'll tell you, I don't see how they weasel out of this on top. Now, Republicans have surprised me in the past. Republicans have screwed the pooch a few times when they've had the ball in the court, and that's entirely possible. This time does feel different. Why does this time feel different? Because we're in a meme war. We're in a meme war with the Democrats over it.
Way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit.
We saw this one.
Not even black people want to vote for us.
We saw that one the other night. We thought, hey, that's pretty good, right? That was a fun jibe. But then it got worse. And by worse, I mean so much better. Let's see. Where is the next one? So Hakeem here, and this is him right here, in case you're wondering what Hakeem Jeffries looks like. Sorry, dollar store Obama detended the dollar store Obama. So it started, right? And now I will tell you right now, if this entire, and I mean, if this whole shutdown is nothing but a meme war until it opens, I'm totally here for it. I'm totally okay for it. And of course, Hakeem came out yesterday, and I'm looking, I have the video here somewhere. Here it is. Hakeem came out yesterday and talked about how horrible the memes are and how this is just not okay. And let's hear what he had to say.
It's a disgusting video, and we're going to continue to make clear bigotry will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect the health care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented Republican assault.
By the way, Trump's posted these. Trump's like, okay, you guys shut it down. I guess we'll make some memes about it. And he's throwing them up there. So now, of course, the goal just starts rolling out because somebody said, show me on the tickle me elbow where the bad meme touched you. I honestly could have done my entire show tonight just doing the memes and I contemplated it. It's just been such a heavy few weeks that I was like, I just need like a lighthearted show. And I know at BZ we had a lighthearted show the other night. But JD Vance was questioned about the memes when he showed up at the White House press briefing today. And as we all expected, he answered it in a very JD Vance fashion. Here we go. I'm going to tell you something. If you don't think that JD Vance is probably not the most like normal guy who's just kind of thrust into a huge situation, I think you're crazy. But watch this.
The president's been posting some images of Leader Jeffries and Senator Schumer.
I saw that.
You've said that you're interested in good faith negotiations with these leaders, but what message does that send? Is it helpful to post pictures of Leader Jeffries in a sombrero if you're trying to have good faith talks with him?
Oh, I think it's funny. The president's joking, and we're having a good time. You can negotiate in good faith while also poking a little bit of fun at some of the absurdities of the Democrats' positions, and even poking some fun at the absurdity of the Democrats themselves. I mean, I'll tell Hakeem Jeffries right now, I make this solemn promise to you that if you help us reopen the government, the sombrero memes will stop.
The sombrero memes will stop. Now, the best part about that is that was actually from Hakeem Jeffries' official account. And I was totally okay with it, except for the fact that I thought it came up short. Look, you want to try to meet them where they are. You want to try to engage it. You're not funny. Hakeem Jeffries, nobody was like, oh my God, Hakeem Jeffries has a great sense of humor. But you're trying. I'll give you credit for that, if I'm being completely honest. I will give them credit for firing back with memes. Look, let's have this lighthearted banter because at least that shows that people are starting to communicate a little bit and have a little fun. We got to have a little fun. I'm okay with fun in government if shit's getting done, right? But dude, you get a whole bunch of 20-something-year-olds working for you. Somebody could have done a better job of getting the mouth moving. And when people are sitting at home on their home computer without a federal budget, and they're having fun making memes like this. And by the way, this is all stuff. I'll tell you right now, I said earlier, JD Vance is probably like the most human, normal, like person that we have, like in government. I think he is like the most normal guy that just happens to be vice president. He gets a kick out of this because we've seen him repost the own memes of him to responses to people. I am here for it. I hope this continues. And I hope, honestly, I know they probably won't. I hope the left actually gets better at memeing. I really hope they do, because this would be so much more entertaining. Gavin Newsom's little, the guy who wears panties there that does his press, I can't think of his name, Bowtie Nerd. He did a meme that was just horrible. At least Hakeem Jeffries was kind of funny. His was just, they put these bad glasses on and they gave him like a high-pitched voice, and it was just JD Vance, and it was not entertaining. But they're trying to, we've seen their whole scam on the governor press office thing where they're trying to out Trump, I think, and it's funny, and literally the only people who find it funny are the ones in that office. But when you're posting memes, this is how jacked up people is in response to this. You don't know what to do with things actually being fun and comical. ABC, and I'm not going to play the whole thing, the whole response. The question was about ABC, I think it was ABC, actually put AI generated image when they showed that meme on air the other night, as if Hakeem Jeffries showed up to a meeting with Donald Trump in a sombrero and a mustache. They had to put AI. I will tell you something. Oh, BZ, you'll get there. You just have to work at it. Guys in the chat room you got to work to get that crown. You just got to work at it. When you are the media and you are trying to cover this and trying to take a serious angle, you cannot take that meme with Hakeem Jeffries sitting there with a sombrero and a giant fake mustache and turn around and say, this is AI generated, and expect anybody to take you seriously. It's just absolute bullshit. Oh, God. I hope this doesn't end anytime soon. I really don't, because I'm having a blast. We'll be right back.
Welcome to River of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch River of Common Sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite, he may not always be refined, but one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Okay, mucho retardo, especially El Hakimo Jeffries y El Chucko Schumer. They are extra retardo. So El Presidente and I cannot negotiate with these Democrat retardos. It's imposibly, mucho imposibly. Gracias, amigos.
Welcome back to the Edge of the SHI Media Network, simulcast with our great friends over at KLRN Radio. Oh, God. Oh, man. I literally could sit here all night and do it, but I just can't. All right, just one more though. There we go. That's a good one. There it is. I'm such a child. It's not even funny, but I do not care. So let's talk about more serious shit. First and foremost, I don't know if anyone saw this. It's just a fleeting story. It wasn't something I was going to hold on to. A woman in Maine received 250 election ballots packaged inside her Amazon delivery of food and toys. The Justice Department has been notified. That's kind of weird. Why would you get 250 ballots sent to you? I can't even get what I order sometimes from Amazon, if I'm being completely honest. You know what I mean? Like, I'll order, like, I'll get things replaced or get the wrong order, and this woman's getting 250 ballots. Like, what the hell? Oh, so on the list of did you vote for this? I want to know if you, my good friends out there, voted for this.
300 federal officials to that apartment complex. Some even rappelled down from Blackhawks onto the rooftop in order to help secure that perimeter. Now, they were searching for suspected members of the violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. Of course, TDA has been designated as a terrorist organization under the Trump administration. Now, it was the biggest show of force that we've ever seen on the ground here. We had agencies, FBI, Border Patrol, ICE, and ATF all involved here, and they were all looking for targets in that same.
Repelling from the roof, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I voted for. I'll be the first one to admit it. Amazing, fantastic, beautiful. I want more of it. And they're going after Tren de Aragua. Like I said, It is beyond amazing to me. Oh, that's what it does over there. Okay. It is beyond amazing to me when they turn around and they say, oh, they're just popping people off the street and blah, 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 when they're clearly focused on getting bad people. Now, as we've seen a few times, have a couple people who have detainers but no real criminal record have been arrested? Yeah, because they were found with the criminals, and they just, that's what you get for hanging out with criminals, right? Like I used to tell people back when I was on the job, if you have a warrant, do not hang out with shitbags that are going to bring the police to you, because then I'm going to find out you have a warrant, and guess what? You're going to jail, right? Yeah, and whoever's making fun of my accent, you're lucky I can get that much out. All right, I'm the first one to admit my Espanol is Espan awful, and I am the first one to admit it. So go to hell. But there's another story that is starting to come to light, and I saw this yesterday, and I haven't heard much about it today. Probably because the people who are going to be affected most do not want anyone to know this is going on. ICE sweeps in Minnesota St. Paul finds 50% of immigrants had committed immigration fraud. Minnesota St. Paul. What's the predominant amount of immigrants that are in that area? Wouldn't it be Somalis? Is there a huge, and correct me if I'm mistaken, isn't that like starting to be a problem for them? Cosmic Bard. So I said to myself, there has to be more to this story. And there is. There's a whole press conference here. The FBI and USCIS discovered how Muslims have been taking over Minnesota, including terrorists. Nearly half of all immigrants involve sham marriages, forged documents, and visa abuses. Operation Twin Shield, conducted by the U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services from September 19th to the 28th, investigated thousands of cases in Minnesota, St. Paul area, uncovering fraud, noncompliance, and public safety concerns, and nearly 50% of the cases. Sham marriage, one case involved an alien that fabricated a death certificate from Kenya for $100 to falsely claim the termination of a marriage despite the spouse being alive and residing in Minnesota with their children. Ma'am, I understand that your husband's dead. That's correct. Okay, who's that? My husband. Is he dead? No. But for $100, I got a letter that said he is. Significant abuse of the H-1B and F-1 visa systems, with individuals overstaying visas engaging in fraudulent employment. Apparently, they were looking up these places of employment in the area and found out that none of these places actually existed and have never existed. Instances of forged documents were rampant, undermining the integrity of the immigration process, as we am not shocked whatsoever. Jeff doesn't need a very typical, for everyone giving Jeff a hard time for being an alien. Jeff doesn't need, he needs the international H-1B visa, and I think he's okay on that. Let's see. Some cases involve marriage fraud where U.S. elderly citizens were subjected to abuse and exploitation. So what I read into about that, because we know there's never any fraud with immigration, there's never any fraud with Medicare, there's never any fraud, until there's a shitload of fraud. It's the same thing as illegals are not getting health care, except, well, okay, not as many illegals and yada, yada, yada. Here we are once again. We were told none of this happens, yet it does. We were told this didn't happen with COVID money. And then we found out we lost something like $500 billion or some ridiculous amount of money. From what I read, the marriage fraud where the elderly U.S. citizens were subjected to abuse and exploitation, they were essentially finding an old person, finding somebody to pair with them, and forcing them to, quote unquote, get married so they could get their citizenship. And then essentially telling them, if you fucking say something, we'll fucking make sure nobody ever sees, blah, 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 blah. Right? This is what we're subjecting people to in our country with our loose immigration borders and our rampant, fraudulent immigration system, that it's being corrected. But this is what happens when you just open the fucking floodgates and look the other way on everything. You're okay with the elderly being abused? Democrats? Is that what you're telling me? The operation also identified individuals with links to known suspected terrorism, No shit. Posing significant national security leaks. So we're importing these problems. We know this. This isn't anything new, folks. I'm not like breaking any new ground by saying this. I know that. But we've imported all these problems. In Chicago, we have ICE having to rappel down roofs to go after gangbangers. We've seen it in New York. We've seen it in Massachusetts. If you follow the amount of illegals that would be in Massachusetts that are sex offenders, I don't know if they met at a NAMBLA meeting and they're like, hey, we're all going to Boston. I don't understand how you can have such a high concentration of people who are both illegal and sex offenders, and not sex offenders in their own country, even though I'm sure they are. Sex offenders in this country that should have been deported 5 years ago that are now just being rearrested for it. They're already out. If they spent any jail time, they're already out. Hardly any of them do prison because, they're just the poor people. He just didn't know. He just didn't know the 8-year-old couldn't consent. He's not a bad guy. I mean, he just did my lawn last week. He didn't hurt anybody in this house. That approach is what's dangerous. And I get it. We all know they want to import slaves. That's what it comes down to. Oh, that'll be interesting. Jersey Joe just posted in the chat. Sorry, I was reading. Senate Republicans trying to figure out ways to give tens of billions of more of your tax dollars to prop up failing and expensive Obamacare. I like Tom Fitton, but sometimes he's very ambiguous with what he is talking about specifically. Look, I mean, I'd repeal Obamacare right now, but I want more details on that. Tom Fitton, he's good on some things, and then other things he just kind of shoots from the hip, and he doesn't provide any real sort of information. I'm not saying it's wrong. I just want to see more on it before I make a decision. So then we're dealing with all that. With all these horrible, horrible criminal aliens. We've seen them. I mean, how many now have we seen involved in murders? There was just one out of Georgia. We saw the illegal who was voting in Iowa, and it was a $300,000 a year superintendent. By the way, apparently where he came from in Maryland, he cost that school district that he worked for there too, in the same capacity that he worked in Iowa, something like $500,000 in lawsuits for harassment of employees or mistreatment of employees or whatever. So, you're picking the best and the brightest. And this has to tell you that these school districts that are run by, and I was torn if I was even going to talk about this chick who hired him. Her name is Jackie Norris. She's the former chief of staff to Michelle Obama. This is her page. And if you want to talk about the absolute epitome of angry white feminist female liberals, awfuls, this woman right here is it. But I digress. So you have all these issues, and Trump said the National Guard and federal resources into DC. DC's crime rate's been crashing. They now have enhanced, and when I say enhanced, they dumped a ton of resources into Chicago, which of course Chicago is still being Chicago. This doesn't help us. We don't need us. They're taking our friends in our street, our friends and our neighbors off the street. Yeah, except they're all criminals and douchebags. You now have what's going on in Minnesota, which that story I think is going to blow up so much more than what we're seeing right now. I think that story is going to get legs and run eventually, because once you start drilling down, I only read half of it. I watched the whole press conference. Once you start, hey, good evening, unpleasant blind guy in the chat room. Once you start drilling down, it gets a lot worse. We saw the raids in LA and the people that they were sweeping up in that. And then there's the Portland area. And now ICE and Homeland Security have been very active in Portland, and so hasn't Antifa. I'm so glad President Trump labeled them domestic terrorists, because they are. And I'm going to play you a couple minutes now. I get plenty of time of just, these are Antifa videos over the last 48 hours. This individual here who posted this, his name is Nick Shirley. He's a photojournalist, kind of like Andy. No, we're getting a lot of those folks that are really great that just get into the dirt and show you everything. But this was him just trying to cover Antifa outside the federal courthouse in Portland. This is what happened to him.
Get the fuck out! You get out of here! Don't try to hit me.
Get out of here!
Well, I have
Get out of here! Don't come back!
Get away from me!
You again?
Get away from me, sir!
Dude, get the
Where are you? You're pushing me onto the road.
Get the fuck out of here!
Let me move. Let me get out. If you're gonna let me get out.
Fucking walk!
Hey, sir, stop it!
Fucking walk!
Stop!
Walk, motherfucker!
What are you doing? Why are you so mad? I didn't do anything.
You did.
What did I do?
Walk!
I haven't done anything.
Walk, motherfucker! Do not come back!
Watch out!
You can go.
Come back! I'm gonna fucking smoke you, dude.
Really?
Yes, really. I'm
Why?
gonna smash that fucking camera.
Stop it! Stop!
What could happen?
Sir, stop it!
Stop sticking your camera in people's fucking face.
I have the right to be here.
Okay, did I say?
I have the right to be here.
Stop.
I have the right to film.
Did you see that flash right up over his shoulder? Keep watching.
You have DHS watching you right there, lasered on you. You have a sniper lasered on you right now.
I don't give a fuck.
Stop it.
Did you see that?
Stop.
Look at his chest right now.
Sticking your camera in people's face.
Red and green
I didn't do anything wrong.
Right there.
You have a sniper on you.
That's how bad it is. Where they have I'm glad they have Overwatch. Don't get me wrong. I'm really glad they had Overwatch. But that's how much they have to watch these Antifa pricks. Because they know what happened. Was it 2 years ago where the Trump supporter was just shot in cold blood in Portland? The governor came out, oh, this isn't a war zone, blah, 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 blah. What would you call that? What would you call that? Look at behind him in this video.
All in black.
You come back, I'm gonna fucking smoke you, dude.
MAGA is a terrorist organization. That MAGA is not an organization in the way that Antifa is not an organization. It's incoherent.
And Trump has said this is war-ravaged Portland. Is this a war-ravaged city?
Show me where the war is. Point to it.
Not war-ravaged during the Black Lives Matters protests either. I was.
Okay, then what was it? If that's not war ravage, if people showing up at the federal building and trying to rescue criminal aliens and going through.
This lady's trying to get through the streets. They're not letting her through.
Go this
They're not letting her through.
Right there, baby.
They're impeding her freedom of movement to go to her house. And look at, if you were in that car and you look around that crowd, helmets, balaclavas, hoods, sunglasses, all that stuff, what would your reaction be? How is this not a war zone? If the police cannot push this crowd apart quickly enough to let somebody going home pass through, they even put a sticker on this woman's car.
This lady right here saying it's illegal for her to be coming through here. The police are stepping in.
Oh my God! You won't be able to get.
She hit a pedestrian. If you do not arrest this woman, you are complicit with this Trump administration.
So now the police are at least trying to interject. And you see he has the liaison shirt. That annoys me. Portland has completely turned their law enforcement into these just guppies. I mean, it's ridiculous. You're not a liaison. Every cop is a liaison. Every cop can deal with the public. Yes, supervisors, rank supervisors, unit supervisors, activity supervisors. Okay, if you want to put different color shirts on them so that the rank and file know who's in charge, that's fine. But the fact that the first thought wasn't, hey, why don't you assholes stop surrounding innocent people in cars and let them through to go home, is problematic. That is a problem with law enforcement. And that is why the federal government, the National Guard, are there protecting the federal buildings, because the people that run the Portland Police Department in the state of Oregon will not allow their officers to do what actually needs to be done and handle this situation. Let's continue.
scaring me. She hit a pedestrian. Are you going to arrest her, or are you going to continue?
We can't hear anything.
With this bullshit administration.
This is wild right now. You have the police going. You have these guys mad at me for filming this. This lady's crying.
I can't hear anything.
I'm so scared.
They already told her you can't go that way. The police, that was the first reaction.
Oh, you're so scared. You're so fucking scared. Why do you keep doing this shit?
Somebody stamped the car with Trump Gestapo, not welcome. Now this lady's trying to get out. What's your message to these protesters, ma'am?
Get a job. Get a job. I didn't run anybody over.
This is horrific. And this is what the Democrat, the mayor of Portland, the Democrat governor of Portland, they're all calling this normal. They're all calling it, that's fine. That's totally fine. That woman's trying to drive home and she's driving a Tesla. She probably politically agrees with them overall. And they're going to surround her and keep her from going home. And they don't just like block the way. That's the other thing. If it was one of those things where they just formed the line in front of her and didn't move or whatever, yeah, they're pieces of shit and they're Antifa and they're terrorists and they should all start being charged under the act. But if they just formed the line and gave her the option to go another way, that's totally different. They surrounded her car completely. And this is happening day in and day out in Portland. This is a problem. And the problem is, well, Portland thinks this is so normal. Mission Ready Men in the chat says there's nothing normal about that, but they all think it is. That is how fucked up they are in Portland. That is how misguided and evil, I think, is the better word. That's why I drive a 1-ton diesel. Oh, yeah, I know. Sean, Rick, I don't even know what that's in response to, but it's just unfucking believable. And look, you ask yourself a question. If you're that woman, you have kids in the car, maybe you have, just yourself, you're all by yourself, whatever. At what point does your fear and your fight or flight kick in? And look, everyone who doesn't know it, fight or flight's involuntary. It is what happens when your adrenaline drops and you think you are in fear of your life. And depending on your training and experience is dependent on what you're going to do. Now, law enforcement, military, fire departments, EMS, even hospitals, they train thousands and thousands of times on doing very, very... Can you send me the meme, Rick? If you have it, I'll post it. And I'll go over a few minutes because I know I was late earlier. We train over and over and over and over and over again. So your muscle memory becomes programmed and you know what to do in certain situations. Your fight or flight kicks in and you're still able to react. The average person does not have that instinct. Their fight or flight kicks in and anything can happen. And you've seen videos of a million people just reacting entirely different situations. Some people run away. Some people turn and square up. Some people just start panicking and melting down. And there's all these different things. If they surround that woman and she freaks out because she's truly in fear of her life and she stomps on the accelerator in that Tesla and all that power is immediate, there's not even ramp up there. The amount of speed and power that would come out of that car would be unbelievable and takes out all those people. You know she's going to be the one going to jail and prosecuted, even though she was in fear for her life. It shows you how there are certain parts of this country that are no longer recognizable as America. That's not America. That's not a friendly protest. That's not, I'm protesting this building or I'm protesting this government entity or I'm doing this. No, that is, we are going to do everything we can to go after. It's a sissy pedal. Okay, fair enough. Canada Heavy Haul. I intentionally didn't say gas pedal on the Tesla because I know it's not. I said accelerator because it was the only thing I could come up with. Sissy pedal's probably better. But this is just another instance of how there are parts of this country, there are cities that have allowed this behavior for so long that it's like normalized. And by the way, like I said, they're all Antifa members. And one thing that everyone talks about too is, oh, Antifa means anti-fascist. Well, okay, but it actually means pro-communist, because the majority of anti-fascists in Italy at the time, where all of Antifa spotted from, originally in World War II, were pro-communists. They wanted communism. They just didn't like fascism. So when they say we're anti-fascist, what they're really saying is, look, we're not a big fan of fascism, but you know the guy with the funny mustache that spoke Russian that killed millions of people? We want what he's selling. We want that. Total control, and if you were a dissident, you get murdered and slaughtered, and nobody cares. That's what Antifa wants. I have a couple other stories that I want to clean up with here. Let's see. I'll throw out a good. This was Turning Point USA. I believe this was yesterday. They had an event in Utah. I think it was Utah. Yeah, Utah State. They had an event where there was actually a bomb scare prior, and they actually detonated a device out in front. And people still went in. Good for them. And there was 6,000 people at this Turning Point event. If I go any longer than that, I'm going to get dinged for copyright or something like that. So that was awesome to see. It was really good to see a good Turning Point event come back. It was good to see everybody, even with the bomb threat, everybody still went in and did it. It's fantastic. Let's see. Comey hasn't been arrested yet, and he hasn't turned himself in, and that's really starting to piss me off. However, they better be figuring that out soon. But two things can happen at the same time. James Comey wrote love letters to the Anti-Defamation League and embedded FBI agents with them. So you know the ADL, I talked about this Monday night, and a couple other hosts have as well. When they're the ones who are putting out all this, the study that everyone's pointing to, oh, the majority of violence in this country is right wing. And then you break down their study and you find out that it's just absolutely bullshit, that literally any act of violence that is quote unquote anti-government, doesn't matter who it's for, who it's against, whatever, is automatically right wing. And that's their sampling. That was their methodology. But now we know why. Kash Patel said they cut ties with the ADL, and that the ADL, the FBI had people in there essentially instructing them into what to put out. So when everyone says, oh, the ADL, it's bipartisan, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It's not bipartisan. It's never been bipartisan. But now we know why. Because the last administration, just like Twitter, just like Facebook, just like all these other organizations, they had their thumb on the scale. And because they have that thumb on the scale, you have erroneous, quote unquote, stats coming out that are pointing to one side saying that they're the entire problem, when in fact, as I talked about Monday night, we know that it's actually the left, and it's not staying static. It's rising at an incredible level. So I thought that was an interesting story. I thought I'd share that one with you guys. Let's see. A couple other good ones here. Oh, this one kind of made me laugh. It brings me back to Portland a little bit. This actually came out, I think, Monday night. But when you're in this country illegally, again, it's kind of the warrant thing, right? If you have a warrant, don't go doing stupid shit that's going to get you attention. But when you're living in this country illegally, and you and your three other illegal buddies are sitting at home and you hear a Black Hawk.
So this is the
outside,
second trip around I've seen.
Why don't you not go outside with your laser and point it at the pilot? upset Black Hawk, because then what happens is all 4 of you get arrested and you get deported. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. It happened on Saturday the 27th. I think I heard about this. Yeah. They're sitting in that house that's on the lower portion.
If I go up any higher, unfortunately, I'm going to hit
They're
a tree.
flashing
So.
lasers. If you haven't figured this out yet, I get when kids do this. I don't get when adults do this. If it's a law enforcement helicopter, especially, they have all these camera technologies. They can lock in addresses. They can do all this stuff. And when they can just turn around and lock in a location, and then 10 minutes later, you have officers at your house. And that's a federal offense, by the way, pointing a laser at a helicopter. That's a federal offense. That's not, you're going to do, 30 days in the pokey. No. You're going to like federal big boy jail, or in this case, you're getting deported. Yeah. It's who else? The Macarena parody. Yeah. It's just dumb. Absolutely dumb. Look, I'm glad they're dumb. It makes everybody's life easier when you're literally putting out the hallmark of, hey, I'm here illegal and here's my address. And actually, I said on the quote, I said, that's a self-deportation move right there. That's guys who wanted to self-deport and they just didn't want to have to do the hard work. Oh, God. This story came out 11 hours ago, and this one shocked me a little bit. The chief of staff for the French army, General Pierre Gilles, I don't know, I'm terrible with French, has stated that forces must be ready as early as tonight for high-intensity warfare, warning of a potential direct military confrontation in the near future with Russia over the defense of NATO allies in Eastern Europe. Now, Poland, just before I went on the air, dispatched a couple of F-16s because of Russian UAVs that were entering the Poland airspace. Something we need to keep an eye on because, well, if it goes shit house south, we're going to end up dealing with it. More good news. I don't know if you heard about this. YouTube agrees to pay $24.5 million to President Trump for suspending his account over the January 6th incident. He keeps winning. It will never cease to amaze me how many people and how many organizations still fuck with him and end up losing, or have fucked with him and now are ended up losing. You can't sit here and tell me, hey, I am going to take the president of the United States of America and suspend their accounts and expect there not to be consequences with that. But good. Less money out of Google's pocket. And hopefully now, maybe that was the motivation for them to start returning people back to YouTube. And hopefully they start actually fixing the algorithm. Got a couple other ones here. Yeah, I got to share this one. Kind of the same line as before. This shit will never get old to me. It just will not get old to me. Oh, there's the Alex Pfeiffer tweet earlier that Joe sent me. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, this one just made me laugh. The founders of Black Lives Matter are demanding reparations for what happened to their ancestors. Otherwise, they're leaving America and encouraging other Black people to follow them if their demands are not met. You know, it's almost like the girlfriend that you keep trying to break up with, and she keeps saying she's leaving, but it never leaves the house. Look, first and foremost, you got the reparations money and the millions of dollars that you made, and then most of you wasted it and bought a whole bunch of shit that you didn't need, and committed fraud in many other cases, and then kept it for yourself. The leadership did. So, you kind of had your payday. And I know they're just clawing for relevancy right now. The BLM movement's just falling apart, and rightfully so. And they're just clawing for a headline. They're clawing for relevancy. But yeah, go. Just go. If you want to go, nobody's stopping you. You don't have to. It's not the airport. You don't have to announce your departure. Just get your shit and leave. Tell people, you know what? Do this. This will be more impactful. Listen to me. Right here, Sweet Pea, talking to the camera. Look, I think you should move. Go back to whichever country you want to in Africa, whichever one you feel most comfortable in, and then turn around and start living there and then telling people how much better it is and how, because America is so horrible, they should move there with you. That's the sign of a doer. That's somebody who's actually putting their money in the mouth. That's how you inspire people, by being a doer. If you think this country is so bad and all those other countries in Africa are great, you go. You live over there. You just absolutely flourish, because that's exactly what's going to happen. And then you start making videos like this. It's not hard to get on. Look, if an idiot like me can get online and start telling everybody how wonderful it is and inviting them to move over there with you. What you should do is take all the money that you fraudulently got and buy plots of land over there, hundreds and thousands of acres, and start coordinating it out to the people that come over to live with you. And I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to be jealous. I'm not going to be upset. If you hate it here that bad and you really think it's that much better over in Africa, please do me a favor. Don't do any research into violence and genocides and lack of money and all this other stuff. Just go. Just go and head on out. And then we'll see what happens. Lastly, because I did start late from the hand, but I did the story Monday night. BZ talked about it last night too. Talking about digital ID and the whole idea of digital ID and limiting free speech and all that shit that the UK is doing. Did you know that the Hill Dog, and I know this doesn't shock anyone because she's been saying it over and over again, she's really the one Jersey Joe, but not a lot of slaves came from Africa. You know, look, and that's what makes it even better. Nobody's saying anything about slavery. They just think it's better in Africa. Go for it. Head on over. Heritage Foundation exposes Hillary Clinton was directly behind getting the European Union to use their Digital Services Act to pressure Elon Musk and America back into censorship. Now, you remember during the election and since, there was one, 2 weeks ago, of Hillary Clinton essentially saying, freedom of speech has its limitations and it's up to social media to make sure that people aren't saying mean things, blah, 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 blah. But a lot of other people were saying it at the time. Well, she's the one who started it, according to the Heritage Foundation. Hillary Clinton flew overseas for a meeting to facilitate this against America. They, meaning the European Union, gathered in Berlin, and it was the most anti-free speech gathering I've ever heard of, and Hillary Clinton was there, according to the Heritage Foundation. When Twitter was purchased by Elon Musk, she called on the EU to use the infamous Digital Services Act, which is one of the most anti-free speech legislations in decades. And she called upon the EU to use the DSA to force censorship of American citizens and force Trump to censor them. Here is law professor Jonathan Turley talking about it.
Free speech isn't a free fall in Europe. There are two anti-free speech movements that have coalesced. One is in Europe, where it has laid waste to free speech. Germany, France, England. Free speech has been eviscerated. And also places like Canada. The U.S. anti-free speech movement began in higher education, then metastasized throughout the government. But this has all reached our shores now. The Berlin World Forum followed the remarks of Vice President Vance on free speech, and the EU was red hot. They gathered in Berlin, and it was the most anti-free speech gathering I've ever been part of. There's only two of us from the free speech community. And they are committed. And, you know, Hillary Clinton was there, and she really fueled the anger. I mean, she, when Twitter was purchased by Elon Musk, she called on the EU to use the infamous Digital Services Act, which is one of the most anti-free speech pieces of legislation in decades.
Now, we've talked about this before. This isn't anything shocking, but the left, as we've seen with the shutdown, as we've seen with so many other things, They're flailing so bad right now. And they were flailing in the last election and before that. They knew it. They knew the numbers were going bad. They knew the extremism was only going to last so long before that bubble burst. And it's why you remember they were going to have, what was that committee that they were going to start, the hate speech committee or whatever, that under the Biden administration that got absolutely just railed and they had to stop it, right? It was the misinformation committee or department or whatever that bullshit was, right? Essentially, it was the policing the verbiage and what you say department, and that got shut down. And that was like their last hope going in the Obama administration to limit what you and I can say in America on social media. And it always starts in other places before it goes into what Canada is, which not Canada, the UK rather, where you're not allowed to say certain things, you get a ticket, right? That's where they want to get to. Flash forward to what was it, Demolition Man, right? When he said hell and damn and piss just so he get toilet paper because the fines would start coming out of the wall. That's what they want to get to. They want to limit every single part of what you do, say, and think. So when they realized that Elon Musk bought X and they were going to take off a lot of, not all of, but a lot of the restrictions, and they weren't going to be jamming as many people up, even though it still happens, but it's better than it was, admittedly. They knew that was going to hurt them. Why? Because truths about COVID could come out, truths about everything could come out. People could actually talk honestly, and they don't want that because they can't win with an honest message out there. Ordy, internet's getting wonky. Have a good night. Thank you, Ordy, for being here. I appreciate it. So they needed to do whatever they could. And Hillary went online, went on interviews and made comments, and then that wasn't working. So then they go to the EU and they try to pressure the EU so at least some of the information can be throttled. Yeah, Canada heavy haul. Canada is trying to be so hard like the UK right now. Yeah, it's sad, man. Look, we all know what their end goal is, and the UK is it. Digital ID, not being allowed to say things on social media, free speech limited, right to protest is going to be limited because as long as you only protest about the certain things that they approve of, other than that, it's an unlawful protest and you'll be arrested. Yada, yada, yada. And they do. They want to get to digital ID. Unpleasant Blind Guy is entirely correct. That's what digital ID is all about, a CHICOM, Chinese communist style social credit system. And that's eventually coming. In response to Canada Heavy Haul's comment, is it legal to boink your cousin yet? Talked about that Monday, how all of a sudden incest is acceptable in the UK. Holy shit. That's how far down they want to drag it. And that's how far they want to drag America. And that's the problem. All of these little changes, all these little cuts into your freedoms, what are promised to you through natural existence, natural law, right? Endowed by our creator, whoever you believe that is. I don't even care. Even if it's your parents, you still have natural rights. The Constitution is to forbid the government from impeding on those, not giving you those. And they keep trying to change that. They keep trying to change that wording in people's minds. They can't change the paper yet, but they want to change it in your mind. They want you to believe that rights come from government because then they can pick and choose which ones to give and which ones to take away, right? That's the end game for the left. And that's why it's so important that we continue to fight that on every single level. Every single level. It's why they want to go after the Second Amendment, because the Second Amendment covers protects the First Amendment. It is a giant leftist world out there, and we're quickly becoming one of the last bastions of hope. And look, we have a good president in office right now for that. We have a good VP who's probably going to be president next if everything goes well. I am so glad that the Democrats are currently shooting themselves in the ding-ding repeatedly with this shutdown, with all their antics recently. Governor Newsom just looking like a complete shit bag, and the rest of the country sees it. All of that needs to keep going in the right direction, but we have to do our part too. I think it was it's BZ who says, never doubt the Republicans' ability to lose an election. And that's true. We got to keep the pressure on. You got to keep doing everything that is right for this country and right for our people, because as BZ just said in the chat room, when the U.S. is gone, the rest of the planet is gone too, guaranteed. And that doesn't mean that it'll completely disappear out of the atmosphere. But what it does mean is any hope of freedom, any hope of individuality, any hope of success, anything will go away too. Folks, that's it for me. Thank you so much. I hope the 10 minutes I stayed over made up for my 10-minute faux pas at the beginning. I promise the more as I use the software, the better it will get. So my apologies tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Please check out every Tuesday, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon right here on SHR Media. Tuesday, Thursday mornings, you have Mission Ready Men with Big E, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon on the East Coast. Monday and Friday, starting next week, Jersey Joe, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 on the East Coast. Jersey Joe will be back. Of course, I'm here every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast with the Edge of Liberty. On Sundays, The Lost Wonder at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 o'clock on the East Coast on our YouTube, SHR Media YouTube. You need to check that out. His shows are just, they make you think. It makes me tired when I rewatch it, because usually I rewatch after a couple of cocktails at 11 o'clock at night when I get home on Sundays. But it makes you think, and you need to check that out. And speaking of one of the KLRN peeps, check out everybody over at KLRN and Digital Beacon. They are fantastic. They are awesome. They're great friends of us, and we really appreciate all of their what's the word I'm looking for? Not jackassery, not tomfoolery. Relationship. We appreciate our relationship with them. So go check out Ricky and the crew over there at KLRN later radio. I will see you Monday night. Take care. Bye.